When you think about the fear built into AI and people saying it's going to steal all of my information, my first question for them is, are you using LinkedIn? Are you using Facebook, Instagram? Do you have an iPhone or an Alexa in your house? Because if so, it already knows all of those things about you.
Hey, I'm Guy Powell, and welcome to the next episode of the Backstory on Marketing and AI. And if you haven't already done so, please visit prorelevant.com and sign up for all of these episodes and podcasts. As many of you know, and hopefully all of you know, that I am the author of the upcoming new book, The AI Marketing Machine. Stay tuned. There's some new news coming out. It's getting very close. I've got some really good stuff, and I'm amazed at how it's really brought a lot of things together in the AI and the marketing space. But today, let's talk about our interview coming up, which is with Michelle Hamilton. And she is the newly minted the Director of Change Management and AI Enablement at Answer Rocket. So let me tell you a little bit about her. Michelle Hamilton spent 30 years as a strategic leader in commercial real estate and the AEC sector before pivoting to close the gap between AI investment and workforce adoption. She founded Spark AI Strategy and AI Class Lab to help organizations turn AI bots and tools into real execution inside the built environment. Now, however, at Answer Rocket, an enterprise AI transformation partner, deploying production AI solutions for Global 2000 companies since 2013, she recently recruited Michelle to design and lead its change management and AI implementation division. She is a sought after national speaker and is known for practical, ROI driven frameworks that help teams confidently adopt and operationalize AI. Michelle, thank you and welcome. So good to have you.
Before we go any further, a quick pause. This is important. Your sales force is one of the most expensive investments in your company. The real question isn't who's likely to buy someday. It's who should be called right now to create the most value. Traditional propensity models tell you who might convert. Our prescriptive modeling, called COPA, tells you who will convert because you called them. If you manage a large sales organization and want higher conversion, bigger deals, and better use of every rep hour, let's talk. If you want your sales team focused on the calls that matter most, visit prescriptivemodeling.prorelevant.com and set up a short strategy session.
Guy, I'm really glad to be here, and thanks for reading all of that. I know it is a mouthful.
It is, but it's good. I mean, you've got such a great background. You can't leave any of that off. So, what is your backstory on AI and marketing after, I guess, first getting into real estate? It sounds like an interesting shift.
Well, I actually will tell you an even stranger shift to this story, Guy. I hold a double master's degree, one in glassblowing and the other in ceramics. You would think that would not lead to eventually moving into leadership in commercial real estate and ultimately to AI. But for me, and we can talk about this another day, but the ability to design and implement a very complex, large-scale glass sculpture is very similar in the way that you think about building out a complex workflow utilizing AI. It taps into similar parts of your brain. So I took that beginning, which was very creative. I'm still a glass sculptor to this day. And then when I moved into the commercial real estate space, I was leading marketing and business development teams. When AI first came out, the generative bots that we're all familiar with, ChatGPT and the like, I actually received an early version of it about 6 months before it hit the news and was able to begin utilizing it for the architecture firm that I was working at the time to begin to think about strategy, marketing, business development practices, and began developing my own unique style and explanation of how people should be thinking about AI, not how they previously thought about technology. And that very quickly led to me coaching individuals and companies 2 years ago. And then in January of 25, launched both of my companies. But that only lasted a year before Answer Rocket found me. And now I'm excited to deliver what I do around the world.
Well, fantastic. And I do want to find out more about how you went from glass blowing to real estate architecture and the like, and then now into AI. It's really fascinating, but we're not going to go there today.
Oh,
We're going to stick with AI and marketing.
let's
And,
do it.
one of the biggest challenges with AI, and I don't know, it's probably the same with a lot of IT projects, and, quite a few of them fail, or they just don't produce the results that people were hoping for. So what is it that that's happening? What is that adoption gap that takes place between those that fail and those that succeed?
It starts in one place. Companies are buying into AI tools or building out custom AI tools and assuming that their employees are just going to use them and that they are going to immediately realize the ROI that went into those enterprise licenses or a custom build. What they forgot was to take a human first approach, understand who their people are, what they do, and how they do it, and what are their specific KPIs to success. By identifying those and then taking a human first approach to designing and developing strategies that have an AI lens to them, we're working with enterprise and mid-market clients to help individual contributors, departments, and then entire teams understand how to utilize AI for what they need to get done. Not just assume that they're going to figure it out on their own or throw them a slide deck from IT. And I have to tell you, I work with some brilliant IT teams. I mean, they are invaluable, but this is not their area of expertise. Protecting the company is getting someone to really take the time to hear from the individuals, the leaders of divisions, and understand what is it that they are tasked with doing, and then developing strategies and delivering that back to them in words and use cases that are familiar to them, not changing their vernacular, not causing them to have to learn an entire new vocabulary. They are just simply doing what they are currently doing, certainly at a more expeditious rate.
Yeah, and that makes so much sense. And technically, even IT implementations going way back, we're supposed to do that too. And of
Right.
course, they failed just as badly as maybe AI is. And I think over the years, IT implementations have gotten better and more successful. And certainly, I would expect that the AI implementations would also get to be more successful. I guess that's one of the challenges too, is if I'm trying to implement AI, so how can AI help me to implement AI? And maybe they're not asking that question as part of their implementation.
They may not be. They may not be. And really, truly, everybody is concerned about their own job, their own role, and their own safety. And so, if you are approaching it simply with that perspective, you're not thinking about a system-wide success ratio and how are we going to be operationalizing this very robust tool. But it is a big lift. It is a systematic understanding of how you can use AI and ensure that your teams are not utilizing shadow AI because they're so frustrated that you haven't shown them how to be successful with the tools that you've handed them. I happen to be very tool agnostic. I mean, I have my favorites, but I'm tool agnostic when it comes to my clients. My job is to help my clients to be the best AI users for their particular deliverables, nothing else. So if they bring me in on Copilot or they bring me in on Claude or ChatGPT, it doesn't matter to me. I want to help you understand how to state what you're looking for, ask for the specific outcomes. And then I think another really important piece to this guy is for marketing teams, really being able to utilize AI to capture the intellectual property of an organization. by building out prompt libraries that actually begin to document success ratios and how that can be carried throughout the organization and individual departments. Once those prompt libraries become shared across teams, everyone is going to be able to contribute to that and build the IP, which will then feed the marketing team back even more information about how to continuously build the brand, support the brand, and absolutely take their organization to more success than they ever thought possible.
You bring up a really interesting point, and that is that a lot of times when people are talking about AI and in marketing, they don't realize that there is kind of a knowledge base that can get built up. And that's what you're talking about with these prompt libraries is, let's build up the knowledge base, and then that can then be applied to other areas in marketing as either one brand does something and is successful, and then translating that over to other brands in a multi-brand environment, or maybe there's other, hey, we did this process over here, and AI, really was very well injected into certain parts of that process. Now let's see how we can learn from that to inject it in other processes within the company. I really like what you're talking about there.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. The other thing, too, that I'm hearing from marketing teams a lot is traditionally thinking about just their web presence, their traditional SEO keyword searches. Now, how are companies aligning themselves so that the foundational AI bots are able to find them more readily? How are they going to come up in those search results? Because more and more people are turning to the perplexities, the comets as their partner. Google has come out with, their AI-based version of itself, and you want to make sure that your company still stays at the top of the pile. Um, and that seems to be a very common request I'm getting from the marketing departments right now is to help them build out their LLMS .txt file in order to capture all of that IP, those key searches, the terms, and build that in so that that is housed on your site to make it easier for those bots to find you.
Yeah, interesting. It's funny because there's clearly certain areas that you need to optimize, and search is one of those. It surprises me how much revenue in the end that Google has lost, or
Right.
apparently lost, due to the implementation of AI, and I think they've learned actually a lot. I remember early on, the AI overview would be at the top, and then the paid search results would be next, and then the organics. And now, if there are paid searches that are close to the term that you're looking for, those are at the top, then the AI overviews, and then the organic. And I guess that's hopefully a way for them to at least stave off some of the loss in their advertising revenue.
Well, absolutely. So, and for good reason. We all got tired of sponsored results. And the fact that that you can open up Perplexity now and just simply ask for what you're looking for, whether it's a restaurant or, a hotel in another city or, information about an individual. You're just going to get what you're asking for in the way that you are asking for it. And in my opinion, that is just a superior interaction for people who are perpetually in a hurry and not interested in being overwhelmed with paid and sponsored results.
Quick pause. This is important for any marketing leader. Marketing must continuously prove its value or the budgets dry up. Marketing mix models provide that proof in a way finance and leadership can believe. And we at ProRelevant help teams answer critical questions. Which campaigns actually worked? Which channels really moved the needle? And where should the next dollar go? With over 20 years of experience across complex marketing environments, we know how to deliver clarity, not guesswork. To learn more, go to mmm.prorelevant.com and set up a short strategy session. And now, back to the podcast.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, then, if the revenue falls off, we're so accustomed to getting all of this information for free.
Mhm.
paying for it through these sponsored ads and even ads in TV or ads wherever they are. We're so used to getting things for free, paying for them through ads. And at some point you wonder if somebody like Google is going to say, "Hey, listen, you're going to have to pay because we
Right.
have to keep, we're providing you an incredible value. You've got to now pay for that value."
Well, I will tell you, actually, OpenAI did announce at the end of last year that the free model is going to start having paid results as part of your outcomes. They will be clearly noted, but in order to avoid those, that is one of the ways that they will be monetizing their AI use. And it's the most commonly used bot currently, has been since the inception, and they all somewhat trade places and quality and use cases, but it's the Kleenex of AI. It's the one that most of us know about. It's the one most of us know about. And so, I can see why they would make that choice. For me, it makes perfect sense to pay for them. I wouldn't do it any other way. And as a matter of fact, I'm a big Claude fan, and I happen to pay for the $100 a month version of that because it is so superior in what it does. And it is one of the easiest investments that I make in my business and in my business to making decisions a month. So I gladly give up something else to make sure that what I'm getting is indeed exactly what I'm looking for.
Well, I don't know about you, but I have developed an incredibly strong case of banner blindness to
Yes.
paid ads, and
Yes.
now I can see I'm going to have to get get my GEO, my generative AI engine optimization banner blindness built up as well, so I
Right.
can skip over those things.
Oh, indeed. Oh, indeed. Yeah,
Yeah,
that is
exactly.
absolutely true. Another area where I'm hearing from marketing teams a lot is using predictive analysis, not only to make sense of the complex historic data within an organization, but how are they utilizing the predictions based on both the data of the organization, but of the organization and their key partners or clients themselves. How are we utilizing AI from a prediction standpoint? And how are we able to understand the ability to ask AI to either take on the role of someone or something else? How are we able to ask it to look at vast amounts of data and predict what is going to happen next? How should we move the needle? Where should we be going with our A/B testing on any of our socials? Any of those types of things, it is some of the predictive sides of AI that is also really, I'm seeing in 2026, understanding how to lean into that and build out a repository of predictive analysis that marketing teams are going to be able to use in order to help build out even far superior RFPs, RFIs, one pager, whatever your documents might be. The things that some of the marketing teams that I'm working with, especially in the commercial real estate, architecture, engineering, and construction space, those are some of their biggest lifts, and they are having to ingest vast amounts of information very, very quickly and make those go, no go decisions. And so the ability to ask AI to become a part of that and predict the outcome, I also think is a remarkably powerful future for us.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely. And one thing that I've seen is, so there's kind of the analytic AI and then the generative AI. But what seems to be going on, I think to your point, is that the generative AI is kind of like a verbal interface to building out these predictive models based on the company data so
Mhm.
that it can ingest all of that. You don't need to, I mean, I think you still need to have an analyst in there somewhere and
Mhm.
certainly a data scientist because you need to have good data. But
Absolutely.
to be able to give a verbal kind of an instruction to say, predict me X, Y, and Z over here using this data over there, and be able to get an answer without necessarily having to know Python or R or any of the coding languages.
Well, and also, what else can we do with that data? It doesn't just need to
Mm.
sit in a report that only the analysts or perhaps the board is reading. How else can we utilize that data to really build out PR announcements, our socials, our client interface, our internal and external facing memos? How can you take that data and now utilize it across the board from a marketing perspective in order to inject it with both true and clarified information, but that also is going to really be able to build into your goals as an organization?
Yeah, absolutely. And making sure that those memes, so to speak, match up with what is hot at the moment, especially
Mhm.
on the PR side, and then even certainly on the paid marketing side or the earned media side, is making sure that the what you're writing is really what people want to hear. And I think AI generally can provide a lot of value there, and then using the analytics to reinforce what the generative AI is telling you.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's an excellent point. This is the other place too that I think from a marketing perspective, the brilliance that they were already bringing to the table is incredibly important because they're going to be able to build out those documents that will be able to train the AI to perform much more quickly and efficiently so that anything that is coming out of a Teams AI use case is already going to be pre-aligned and pre-approved with both the brand standards and the voice of the organization. You know, if you're working with a large enterprise team, you've got hundreds, thousands of employees, you're not always in control of everything that everybody is saying, all of their elevator pitches, all of the emails that they're sending out. But I tell you what, if you can begin to teach your employees how to train their own AI bots in the approved brand and brand standards of your organization, that is someplace too that marketing teams are becoming incredibly valuable to the organization as a whole because it just tightens everyone up so that you are making a unified front.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, let's move on a little bit here. A
Sure.
great conversation. Really appreciate it. One of the things, though, is that's interesting, and especially in the digital world and the e-commerce world, is it's all about attribution. And certainly AI can help you to drive higher attribution, whether it's on generating potential campaign variations or some kind of personalization that you might not otherwise be able to do. So, and certainly the end goal is of course sales, but doing sales at a relatively low cost, so you generate a relatively high ROI and then be able to prove it. So tell us a little bit about there and what your thinking is there.
I also think of it not just in that perspective, but also internally as well. Your own employees in your own company is also your client. So, how are you thinking about that in relation to how the marketing team is working through some of that verbiage and some of that language? And if we're thinking about ROI, where I love to start with a client is let's take some tasks that you are already performing, we'll call them manually, without the use of AI. And I want you to begin to document how much time it is taking to do that, what are the tools that you're utilizing, and what is the start and finish with that. Now we are going to learn some AI techniques and strategies to something very similar. And let's now apply that. And over time, I want you to begin to document what is your actual use case and time in order to get to the same, if not better, outcome? How would you improve upon that? And then how can you begin to think about how internally as a team, everyone can begin to capture and perform their own ROI analysis on the tasks that they are already performing?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one great way to do that. And I guess that also gets into kind of the a little bit in terms of the training of the individuals and how they're going to use the AI, and whether you're going to, I think one of the things is train once and check the box, as opposed to making sure that it's not just trained, but you're truly implementing it. Tell us about how the organizations are moving beyond that one-time training.
Well, one of the ways that we're doing that is I actually always suggest to an organization that we actually do a system-wide, what I'm going to refer to as an AI 101 training with whatever their approved tools are, so that we're level setting the entire organization. You can assume within that, within the biology of a company, that there are going to be early adopters that are more advanced users, and there are going to be people on the other end of the spectrum that are saying, I'm never going to touch it. I don't want to use it. You can't make me. And sort of everybody in a pool in the middle, right? And so what I like to do is make sure we are level setting the room and making sure that everybody has an established understanding that the company has not only invested in this tool, but they have invested in you. And let us help you learn some ways that you can immediately find some use and use cases for this. We often provide advanced opportunities during those demonstrations, and then early, for the folks that are more resistant, we make it a little bit easier and more approachable. But that can actually all happen in one room and one use case. From there, then what we end up doing is working with all of the individual departments and divisions to help them establish and begin to capture immediate short-term, midterm, and long-term operations that they are sitting at their computer doing day in and day out on a repetitive basis. It is actually this type of systematic adoption for an organization, Guy, that allows people to sort of gently lean into it. I mean, there are far more advanced structures, use cases, workflows, and agents that we can bring to the table. And your company can actually, Answer Rocket, the company that I'm going to work for, actually builds out incredible workforce agents. And, we can get into that another day. But for the everyday user, and most companies are made up of everyday users. How are you increasing the adoption rate? And it is through that systematic approach and then heading to each of the individual key departments. We always recommend that we do quarterly updates for you. We are not a consultancy where you are on the hook month over month, with just into perpetuity. I have key deliverables. I have key expectations of what you will receive and what you can expect at the end of each of our phases. And then we recommend at the end that we come back on a quarterly basis, help you establish who your internal AI champion or champions are, and keep that team trained. Give them the tools and the keys to the sports car so that they can keep moving the organization forward. You don't want to pay me into perpetuity. I'd be fine if you did, but that is not what most companies want now. They want to know, what is our deliverable and what is that going to look like, and who is going to help us do this after you leave. And from what I am seeing and the success that we had last year, that seems to be a really outstanding way to help an organization identify their costs up front and then see what will that training cadence look like and how can we expect to stay caught up with what literally changes every 24 hours, the AI world.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's so critical. And you bring up, the challenge of, I mean, even when you're trying to sell a product, which is technically what we're trying to do, when you
Mhm.
sell a product, you have the early innovators and the early adopters, and then you have kind of the bulk of everybody, and then you have the laggards. And in a similar way, the marketing department or function is trying to sell the use of AI to a bunch of employees, where you have the leaders and the early adopters, and then you have everybody in the middle, and then you have the laggards that are afraid of it for whatever reason. And and so then how then can we as marketers, taking what we already know and
Mhm.
using it in a way that we can apply it for our employees so that they all can benefit from it, and of course the company and the brand benefits from it as well. One thing, though, that I think everybody hates is this three syllable word. It's called governance. And
Mhm.
as important as it is, and I recognize how important it is. You've got SOC 2 or you have HIPAA and all these other things that you just have to be really critical about, and make sure that you're, really protecting your data and protecting your IP from whatever kind of a source it is. So tell us a little bit about the AI governance and where you see the challenges and the gaps that are out there with different organizations.
A great question. I'm actually working on a governance project right now. When teams come to us, that is actually one of the first questions we always ask them. Do you have an established governance policy? And if they do not, we oftentimes will say, would you like an assistance in putting one together? Generally, if they are a high risk environment, like let's say law, I've got some law firms that I work with, healthcare, finance, banking, they are definitely going to have a governance policy and document strictly to just meet the law. But for everyone else, oftentimes a light governance will take care of that. Because if you begin to get so restrictive that you are either telling people you may not use AI at all, or you may only use this AI, the risk you're running is that people are going to still be curious human beings and just do it on their phone because they're not pleased with the outcomes that they're receiving with the bots that you gave them. And that is something that we saw really early on, especially when Copilot first came out. Microsoft, great company. Copilot has had a lukewarm at best response to its use, but it's getting better. That happens to be one of the most common areas where people come to me and say, "This is awful. It's not nearly as good as my ChatGPT or my Gemini." And my response to that is perhaps you're just not using it the way it was intended to be used. So let's first talk about that tool's superpowers and how you can use it and why it was approved for a safe use case. If it is a more high risk environment, let's say a law firm, we do meet with partners, their AI committee, and we sit down and we begin to talk about what are the risks. Tell me more about the clients that you are working with. Tell me about your work process, your workflow, and how does information flow through your organization. Then we actually build out a questionnaire that is sent specifically to all of those individuals that begins to give them a full analysis of their own perspective, concerns, and fears over the use of AI. It allows them to say, well, I heard this can happen and I saw this in the news. That's great. Bring it all. What you don't want to do with that same, let's say, five, six, $700 an hour attorney is put all of those partners in a room and have them argue the AI policy out for a month, because that is an enormous waste of dollars. Let us, or let an organization like us, sit with you, understand your specific organization, and then we are going to go back, do the research that we need to have in order to ask the most pertinent questions. And then, of course, there's lots of redlining and changes to those. Our suggestion is no matter what, if we build out your governance, it still needs to run through your HR and your legal department because you want to ensure that it is not so punitive that people are afraid to do anything or that you can't enforce it. And that enforcement actually comes through training. People are much more likely to follow your governance if they just simply know how to use the tool. I was talking to an owner of a construction company this morning, and he said, "Well, I don't understand why my project managers are going to need this beyond, we were talking about three other things." And I said, "Look, at a construction site, would you want your tradespeople arriving not knowing how to use the tools? Do you want them to just pick the tools up and go, well, we'll figure it out. We'll build the building. I'm sure we can figure this out. It can't be that hard." AI is literally the exact same thing. If you approach it like hyper Google and you approach it like, oh, it's just, I can just ask it to do this fast thing for me, then you're not seeing the true value of that tool.
Yeah, how true, how true. And I think you're right, it is a training thing. And there's certainly because you already have, from a governance perspective, even, for SOC 2 and HIPAA, you already have training that says, hey, when you get an email that looks suspicious, don't click on it,
Right.
and actually it's kind of fascinating too. You also get these tests sent out So you, as the IT team, can send out these emails that are made to see if your employees are actually clicking on these
Mhm.
bad emails. And it'd be interesting to see if there's something like that coming that would be something that you could use for AI to make sure that they're not doing something funky with the AI and then
Mhm.
giving away their IP or putting something in there that they shouldn't. I know a friend of mine, he works in healthcare, and it's amazing what people do, and so they were trying to analyze their social media, and within their social media, their patients were putting HIPAA information about, hey, I had this great experience with Joe XYZ, Dr. Joe XYZ, and he really cured my kidney, and I did this and I did that, and I'm 92 years old and whatever, and here's my social security number, and whatever, right? And then, that was then, and because the social media is so big, there's so much data there, you can't find that. And
Right.
so you stick it into AI, and all of a sudden your AI has HIPAA information in it. And so now you really have to figure out, well, how do you weed that out so that that doesn't get somehow transmitted or incorrectly used by at some point.
Well, Guy, I think that's an excellent point. And actually, so often people will say to me, I just don't trust it. I'm not going to use it. It's stealing all of my information. Well, first of all, I'm just not that interesting. I don't know what it thinks. I don't know what I think it's going to steal from me, but I am really not that interesting. Okay, so when you think about the fear built into AI and people saying it's going to steal all of my information, my first question for them is, are you using LinkedIn? Are you using Facebook, Instagram? Do you have an iPhone or an Alexa in your house? Because if so, it already knows all of those things about you. It knows your kids' names. It knows what city you live in. It can predict how much money you make, and it can predict how you're going to vote and what you should buy your spouse or your significant other for the holidays. Don't be confused. That information is already out there. If you think AI is the one there to take that information from you, you've long since given it away if you are walking on this earth at this point, because there are bots listening to everything. And I don't particularly love that either, but it is a fact. And the fear built into using AI, I think, is incredibly misguided if you indeed are already using technology.
Yeah, that is so true, and it's a hard concept, I think, for people to realize is that my information is already out there. They have it, whoever they is,
Yeah.
and right, and yet, no, I don't want to give them my information that they already have. So it's kind of a fun, thing for us marketers to suffer through. Well, anyway, Michelle, this has been wonderful. I've really learned a lot, and I hope our audience has as well. I do have one last question for you, and that is, what advice would you give to an up and coming new marketer that wants to now make their way in this new world of AI and marketing?
Stay with marketing, lean into what you are learning about marketing, but make sure that you are actually tapping into your network of marketers that have been in place for a long time. Don't just rely on AI to teach you about marketing. There are so many brilliant senior marketers that are out there that can really teach you about how to connect with people and how to connect the dots and move a business or a concept forward. And you absolutely need to use that foundation and then apply some AI logic to it and begin to document your own intellectual property. Until you work for a company, you need to document what is working for you and how is it working so that you can continue to repeat that without reinventing the wheel day in and day out.
Yeah, how true. And it really makes a lot of sense. And I think you're right too about, really the senior marketers that are out there that have the experience, they are willing to help out. It's not like they're trying to protect the stuff and not tell anybody. They want to help. So
Yes.
yeah, thank you for that. I really appreciate it, and thank you as well for the great insights and information today on AI and marketing. So where can people learn more about you and your company, Answer Rocket?
Well, I tell you what, right now, I actually am starting with Answer Rocket on March 16th. So I don't even have my email address yet. So you can actually find me on LinkedIn, or you can reach out to me at Michelle at Spark AI Strategy. And the new owner of Spark has willingly said they would continue to forward all questions and queries directly to me. And so I'm just really looking forward to this next chapter. And Guy, this has just been such a fun conversation. I've really been looking forward to this, and it was everything I'd hoped for.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it, and definitely best of luck with Answer Rocket. It's always fun, and also a little bit worrisome or anxious or whatever. But I know that you're going to be an absolute success, and all the best of luck as you move and transition over to Answer Rocket. So
Thank
for the audience, definitely stay tuned for many other videos in this series of the backstory on marketing and AI. And if you get a chance, please go to marketingmachine.prorelevant.com, and there'll be some new news out there about my upcoming book, The AI Marketing Machine. Michelle, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Guy, thank you too, and I'm looking forward to your book.
Oh, thank you.